Hi, welcome back to the Power Cycling Preview video series. I'm Mark Mueller, owner of Power Cycling. I really appreciate you guys sending me some of your ride files, and also I hope you enjoyed and tried out some of those nutritional concepts that we brought out in the last video. Today we're excited to have with us Alexey Vermeulen here, pro cyclist, former national champion, past 2 years spent time on the world tour team of Lotto NL Jumbo, and also in the past 2 world championships. We're going to be sharing with you today a strength training circuit that Alexey and I have done over the years to get him ready for competing against some of the best in the world. Do you recall when we got together and first met?
Yeah, I think I was 13. It was back at one of your first camps, and I remember my dad saying, "Hey, I know this guy, you're gonna go out and just ride as hard as you can." And that's what I did. And I had always ridden with people my age, but then I got out and I realized there's a lot more roads around me to see, and there's a lot more that I can do on my bike rather than just look at heart rate. There was power, and there was, you could see it afterwards and see where you could improve. And I remember just trying to hang with you and having a blast.
I remember trying to hang with you. I was like, with this 13-year-old kid offering my first local camp, and this guy is drilling me, and he had raced the day before. I'm like, holy smokes, I'm just trying to hang on, and you're pushing me. I'm just like, please let me get back to the SAG vehicle without getting dropped by this 13-year-old. I don't feel so bad today sitting next to you with everything that you've accomplished. Going back to that time, but yeah, that was great. And then I recall, because you weren't just one-dimensional at that time, you were a hockey player, you ran cross country, you wanted more diversity, and you were, I think what stood out to me was just your dedication to your development, your focus, the ability to really push yourself, and go places I hadn't seen anyone at any age go, and wanting to be the best you could be, and willing to do whatever you had to do to go there and be unique with what you're doing. So you were kind of creative with the things you did, and I think that's what attracted you to the strength training initially, is that you just knew you had to get stronger. Not that many cyclists, particularly young cyclists, would even ever think of lifting a barbell or trying to get stronger, but you were totally open-minded and eager to do that, so we got started with that at a very early age, and that was a great compliment, I think, to everything you're doing with cycling.
Yeah, and I think it was great from all aspects. Hockey was during the fall, and there was I liked having the change in sport, the cross training, but there was definitely something missing. Being from Michigan, and I would say a third of the year is snow and cold and below freezing weather. And I started to get outside, and I had a single speed and started to keep riding all year, but you miss the intensity. You can't go that hard when it's that cold, and I think that's where strength training started to show the most benefit, is I could continue the intensity and the riding at the same time, and it allowed me to act just like the Colorado and California kids throughout the whole year, and I'd come into the spring ready to race.
Mm-hmm. So Alexey, we've trained for many years, but what do you feel really you've taken away from the strength training over the years that kind of helps you compete against some of the best in the world out there?
Yeah, I think there's so many aspects of that, but I think I can start with saying that for me, when I first came and started working with you, it wasn't just strength training. I think 95% of all cyclists who are at my level strength train, but we were able together to use your movements and different muscles that I knew I needed to really turn the gym into an actual tool. So for example, one of the first things I think we worked on when I was like a junior under 23 is I came back from a training camp in Tucson, and I was complaining of lower back issues. I climbed for an hour out of the saddle. I don't do that in Michigan. It's not something I ever do. How do we fix that? And so we worked on combining that bike workout with also doing core here, back strengthening here, and then also just strengthening my glutes or any other thing that you thought was important. And so I think strength training has been the ultimate tool, but it hasn't been just going to my local gym. It's been coming here and doing the correct work and consolidating the work into the time periods that I have. Yeah, and then one of the other moments that was really big is when I was second year under 23, I was 20 years old. I crashed in Italy, and I remember I was really bummed. I was having a great year. I broke my wrist. We thought maybe I'd broken my ankle, but I went to a hospital in Italy, and they couldn't tell me in 5 hours what I had done. So I went home back to the U.S., and we had X-rays, and we figured it out. We were looking at about a month and a half, month off, and I was really struggling with that mentally, because that was not riding outside. That was not going to be any physical training while all my competitors were getting ready for the World Championships in America for the first time.
Right. It was
30
Richmond,
years.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was really hard for me. And but we came in here and I started talking to you. Hey, you think we can work out with this? I mean, I remember I literally had surgery, I think less than a week before, and we were like, hey, so we can't use this wrist. What can we do? And I remember leaving the gym the first time and calling Lucas Wall, my coach, and being like, I am going to be as strong as I ever was if I can do this. And we were just doing all of the work, but really focusing on the muscle groups we had to focus on. And it took a little bit longer sometimes. We had to create and MacGyver a couple movements, but in the end, we worked through with having a broken wrist. And I think when I went back into racing, of course, there's a week where you start struggling, you got to start pulling the bars again. But I went to a race that ended up being absolutely crazy, and I had everything else physically there. And so I think that's where it's been so helpful, is to fill in the gaps in training that you have in cycling. Cycling is so one-sided. You know, you're always pedaling up and down. You don't do anything else. Sometimes you get out of the saddle, but after 6 hours you start hurting. And those efforts have stopped hurting for me, and I think that's where you've been so helpful.
It was right after that you signed your first pro contract too. So
with the broken wrist.
Yeah, it was like, wow, that kind of worked out.
Yeah, it worked out really well.
Yeah. It was really exciting this year, Alexey, to see you at the World Championships in Norway. You had quite an experience there. You want to share that with us?
Yeah, no, it was a late call-up. I think I remember I was racing in Belgium, and I got the call from the head of UC Cycling, and it's always exciting to race Worlds. I got to do it the year before, but there's something special about wearing your colors of the flag, you know, and bearing that USA across your back. But yeah, I got the call up. It was in Bergen, Norway, and got to race with the guys that I'd grown up oogling and ogling over and wanting to race with. And went to the team meeting the night before, and they were like, "Hey, Alexey, so if you can get in the early breakaway, that's going to be the best goal." And I'm kind of looking at it. Yeah, I'm kind of looking at it like, okay, it's a 280K race. Okay, it's like 150 miles. Like, okay, yeah, that'll get me through most of the race. Like, I can do this. And it was good. It worked out. It was a cold morning. We started off along the sea in Norway, and I ended up getting in the breakaway with a bunch of other guys. And I remember just every time I was at the front of the group pulling through, I wanted to just kind of wave to everyone watching, because I was like, this is my moment. But it was a blast, and I finished. And, you know, everybody was. I got so many texts, and I think it's one of those moments where you didn't do anything results-wise in a race. Yeah, I didn't get a result. I didn't get third, fifth, anything, but it meant so much to my career as a whole, to being there, and yeah, it was one of those moments that you won't ever forget.
There was quite a climb on that circuit, I recall.
Salmon Hill.
What?
Every time I tried to be kind of near the front, kind of getting up there, because that's where all the cameras were, and there was so many people. I mean, I think every time you went up, you got goosebumps. People say that, but it was really like that. You had people kind of crawling over both sides. There was kind of like, one side kind of went down a hill, but the other side was up on top of you. So you kind of felt like people were over top of you, just yelling and screaming. Around one of the corners was an American contingent. Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
The announcers were always commenting, "Oh, Vermeulen, he's pushing the pace too hard. He's going to drop all of his breakaway companions here. He doesn't know what he's doing." You're just crushing people.
No, and you know, you got the radio in your ear, and you're always talking. Your teammates kind of know what's going on, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. And it's never the smartest move to go out there and waste all your energy. Yeah. But it was it was one of those special moments that I'll never forget.
You did it for the team.
Did it for the team. Cycling is not an individual sport.
Yeah. So we have this what we call power circuit put together. Alexey and I kind of collaborated here. It's an awesome workout, and it's something that we put together for you guys at home that you can do with minimal equipment and it's gonna give you an awesome workout within just about over an hour's time, incorporating strength and the bike, and help you develop that muscular endurance and stamina that Alexey was talking about, and just really just get the most out of your training. And particularly here, again, if you live in the Midwest, something that's gonna help you compete against folks that might have a little bit more challenging terrain. So, and actually we have a movement called the Alexey that when Alexey had a cast on his arm, we developed this so that we could work around it. So that's in your workout. So that's a little special treat for you as well. So we're gonna get on it and show you this workout. Hope you enjoy. So on this first segment on the bike, you're gonna be basically a warm-up. And that's real key for this workout because it is very high intensity and you're gonna be doing some strength training movements. So you do wanna utilize this first segment effectively as a warm-up. So the first 10 minutes, just ride nice, easy level 1s, level 2s. And I think then that's transitioning you into a 5-minute tempo segment that is gonna culminate the last 20 seconds of that 5-minute tempo, which you're gonna be trying to hold a good hard tempo pace. You're gonna finish with a 20-second all-out effort. And that's gonna transition you, that hard 20-second effort is gonna transition you off the bike into our first weight training segment. Alexey's coming up on that last 20 seconds, and here he's gonna get ready to do that 20-second sprint. You're just trying to maximize your power, so you're gonna get your leg speed going, and then hold on to it and just utilize the biggest gear possible to put out those big watts that you're looking to develop. Nice job, Alexey. All right, that's tough work, but it does get you ready for that first weight training segment. All right, so Alexey's just gotten off the bike from that warm-up set. What we're doing is right off the bike, going into a high intensity kind of plyometric movement. We call it speed skater. Alexey loves this one. It gets you into the rhythm too, but what it's gonna do is keep your heart rate elevated, and then that's gonna carry over into some of these other weight training movements. So the form is, Alexey, you squat down, and you're gonna take one foot behind the other to get in place. And then what you're doing is transferring your weight side to side. And we're gonna be doing this for a minute. So you can use a timer if you want. And this one's handy because it beeps at the end of a minute, or you can look at a clock. So you're gonna be transferring weight from one leg. Alexey, go ahead and let's start up. Let's get a little sweat going here. You see that explosiveness that he has? And that's what you're trying to develop, is that push, that drive off of the one leg, transferring the weight. And that's something similar, say you're climbing a steep grade of a hill. You need that ability to drive that leg into each pedal stroke and help propel you up that hill. But it's also providing this cardiovascular part to your workout that coming right off the bike is going to keep your heart rate pumping and just make everything just that little bit more challenging. Again, condensing your workout in a short amount of time. Our second movement is more of a strength-based movement. It's a typical squat. We're going to use dumbbells. I kind of like using those as opposed to barbells. That's a lot easier for you at home. And what we're doing though is incorporating a movement I call pulses, integrated into regular squat. So Alexey, just show them a regular squat. You're gonna have your feet just about shoulder width apart, feet turned straight ahead, and you're just letting the dumbbells hang from your shoulders. Then you're just descending down almost like you're sitting down into a chair. And that's a good visual for a squat, is to pretend you're sitting down in the chair. You're pushing your hips and butt back, setting them down, keeping your abs really strong. That's key to reducing any lower back pain, is to keep your abs engaged. But what we're gonna do here is, Alexey's done about 10 reps, he's gonna go into some pulses for 10. That's where you're gonna stay in the lower half of this squat movement. It's really gonna load up those quadriceps, keep your glutes engaged. He's doing 10 of those, and then after he does that, he's going back into a full squat. So what you're gonna do is alternate from 10 regular squats into 10 pulses. And you can just start with one set of each. 10 regular, 10 pulses. Or you can add in, hey, after those pulses, I'm gonna do 10 more squats. But just keep alternating, just listen to your body and do what feels comfortable. All right, good job, Alexey. There he goes. He goes back into the pulses. Again, higher intensity, keeping those quads loaded up, giving them that extra power and strength. All right, good job. Our next movement in this first circuit's the dumbbell pullover. It's our first upper body movement, and we're gonna do it with a stability ball. So that way you don't even need a bench. So Alexey's gonna have a dumbbell. He's gonna walk his feet forward, lay back onto the stability ball, and you want to make sure you support your head and your shoulders there, but your hips now are elevated and lifted, so you're getting actual glute involvement and leg involvement as well as core. At the same time, we're working this upper body. We're really working the lats here and through your rib cage and chest. And it does expand that rib cage. So it's actually gonna facilitate better breathing for you. And as a cyclist, you definitely need to be able to take deep breaths and be effective with your breathing. And after the work we've just done with the squats and the speed skater, it's gonna, kind of settle that down and regulate that breathing. But long term, it kind of allows you to just be able to take those deeper breaths. And you notice here the breathing rhythm Alexey's using is he's inhaling as he's taking the dumbbell overhead, exhaling as he pulls it back over top the chest. And your goal is to get up to 16 reps, but you can also do 10 or 12. Again, work gradually up to these maximum reps. And then to get off, you just push back like Alexey did and get back on top of the ball. Next movement in our circuit is the Alexey. This is the movement that we put together when we mentioned he broke his wrist and he couldn't get on the bike for a while. We just emphasized weight training to maintain his fitness. So imagine him having a cast on the hand there. So we said, well, what can we do? Well, he's gonna hold the dumbbell in his right hand and do a lunge. And when he steps forward, he's gonna be reaching across the body and placing the dumbbell to the outside of that foot. And what that's really doing is it's putting all of your upper body weight over that thigh. You see how his chest almost touches the top of his thigh there? And by doing so, he's having to push back a lot more weight than just this 12-pound dumbbell that he's holding. He's having to push back his entire body weight, and it's really then loading up that glute on the left side. So you're working this leg he's reaching out with, that left leg, and he's isolating. And as a cyclist too, you want to do single leg things to get each leg developed so that everything's in balance. And because when you're pedaling, you're using one leg at a time. They're working together, but you want to isolate movements here. So just go ahead and switch now, Alexey. Put the dumbbell in the other hand.
This wrist isn't broken?
No, yeah, you don't have a cast now, so you can hold it. So we're gonna, again, start small, maybe 10 reps to each leg, build up to maybe 12, 16, 20 reps. But you just work at your own pace and then build from there. But again, he's reaching across the body. That's the key. That's what puts more stress on that leg that he's leading with. All right, good job. So now we're moving back to an upper body movement. That's sometimes kind of effective to go back and forth from lower body, upper body. It gets blood circulating to that upper and lower half of the body, creating more of a cardiovascular benefit. So what we're doing here is Alexey's gonna get in a position on top of the stability ball where he's in a push-up or plank position, and he's gonna be performing a push-up, but at the same time, he's dropping a foot off to the side. And what that's doing is it's engaging his core, his abdominal muscles much more as he has to stabilize with just that one foot on top of the ball. So he's getting upper body training here to his chest. He's working his arms and his shoulders, but he's getting a lot of lower body stabilizing movements that are beneficial on a bike. Again, to transfer power to those pedals, you have to have that strong core. If you're climbing, you need it to be able to get yourself, pull yourself up those hills. The last movement of the circuit is called the warrior squat. Very simple, but very demanding. It's one of Alexey's favorites here. Challenges not only body, but mind. So you can start with maybe just 30 seconds and build it up eventually maybe to 60, 90 seconds here. But what you're gonna be doing is just sitting down into the squat position. Again, almost visualizing you're sitting down into a chair, and have your arms extended, keep your chest lifted. So you don't want to put too much pressure on that lower back, but keep the spine, you see this back's nice and straight, and you're just holding it. Again, one of these timers might be helpful, but you can just look at your watch or your clock. You're just holding it. And one of the, again, the benefits could be more important even than the physical is the mental, because right now you're struggling to hold this. And it's almost like you're coming to the top of a hill. You're turning those pedals, you see the top of the hill, but you gotta keep working. Mentally, you gotta be strong and fight through some of what you're feeling in those legs and in your chest, heart pumping. So it's building up that capacity too, to just hang in there when it's really tough. And the biggest thing about this workout is you're doing this and we're gonna be getting right back on a bike, and you're gonna have to work with those legs and what you're feeling. All right, so Alexey's back on the bike. He just finished the warrior squat, and now with just one of the tough things of this workout is he's just got 1 minute of warm up getting into the second segment on the bike. And what we're emphasizing here is we call these push-pulls. So what you're doing is you see Alexey's loading up the resistance. He's getting into his level 4, and he's riding at a cadence that feels comfortable in the level 4. And then after doing 30 seconds in that level 4 without changing the resistance, and that's key, don't change your resistance, just slow down your leg speed and let the watts drop into your level 3 zone. And then you're hanging there for 30 seconds. And what we're doing is we're going back and forth 6 different times. So you got 6 minutes here of 30 seconds level 4, 30 seconds level 3. So Alexey just transitioned into that level 4. You see his leg speed increasing. That's kind of developing that extra strength in your legs, using that bigger gear to pick up the cadence, get your watts up a little higher, get the power going. And then after 30 seconds of picking up, you're just gonna ease off. You saw how you just kind of transitioned to this level 3. So again, you can see the strength in his legs and what this is doing for him. So it's kind of strength training on the bike. And coming off of that last weight training segment, very demanding to just hop on a bike and start doing this kind of strength work on the bike. But that's one of the benefits of what we're doing with this workout, is the transferring of your weight training work right to a bike, as opposed to just going in a gym and just doing weight training work. Here, you're asking your legs to work and pedal and do the same range of the motion you want to get better at on a bike, but you're doing it with those tired legs from the strength training. Alexey's just gotten off of that second set, the push-pull segment. He's probably feeling the burn in his legs. Things are starting to accumulate lactic acid-wise. We're going right into a strength movement, but it's also an entire body movement called squat press. So it's gonna work as upper body and lower body at the same time, and it's gonna kind of keep things cardiovascularly on a little higher level here. So he's gonna hold dumbbells up in a shoulder press position, squat position. He's gonna sit down into a squat, and then as he stands, he's pressing the dumbbells up overhead. You want to make sure you use that good form, engaging your abdominals, take away the stress from that lower back, and you actually load up these abdominals. You won't believe how much abdominal work you're getting just by squatting here when you hold those dumbbells about shoulder level. Try to not let the dumbbells just rest on the shoulders. You see Alexey has them just off the shoulders. So he's engaging his shoulders the entire time there. Also, if you ever notice your heels coming up, then you're putting too much weight forward, you're not sticking your butt and hips back far enough onto that imaginary chair. So if you feel your heels coming up, make sure you push those hips back further and make sure the heels stay flat on the ground. All right, good job. Second movement of this circuit, we have a V-sit. where you're gonna sit down on the ground, you're gonna have your lower legs lifted so you see the lower legs are kind of level, parallel to the ground. Alexey's holding a medicine ball. You could also use a weight plate or a dumbbell. You just want some resistance, or maybe even just start without anything. And what you're doing is rotating through the body and just moving that weight across the body to the other side. You try to stabilize your body as much as you can so you're not swaying back and forth, but just using the core muscles. And this is gonna kind of help you with some of that core strength necessary and muscles you need when you're, say, climbing a hill out of the saddle and you're on your handlebars, moving it back and forth, maybe just kind of pulling yourself up that hill. Let's get 2 more to each side there, Alexey. All right, next we're going to what we call the ball wall squat, and we're gonna add in an upper body movement, the bicep curl with it. So Alexey's got his stability ball, he's got a pair of dumbbells, and you're gonna place your body back into the stability ball. So it's kind of supporting right at the lower part of your back, kind of into your tailbone area. Don't get it up too high in your shoulder blades, because when you squat down, then it's gonna go up into your neck area. So get it fully supporting you here. You're leaning back. Also make sure your feet are kind of you're angled outward. So your ankle here is ahead of your knee's ahead of your hip. So you don't want to stand right beneath it like you would with a regular squat, so you're kind of slanting back. So you notice how he's getting this slant to his legs. Then when he's doing this, he's going to sit down into a chair and then do a bicep curl and stand up and lower the weights. This is really challenging, not only on the legs, because you're holding this bottom position, almost like that warrior squat we did earlier, but on the arms as well, because you're seated in this position doing a bicep curl as opposed to standing, and it loads up your abdominals. So you're getting ab work, you're getting leg work, you're getting upper body work. Again, this workout's trying to bring together a lot of different components into these movements so you get the biggest bang from your buck here and get the best training in the most efficient manner possible. Next movement here, it's gonna work your glutes and your hamstrings, and you also need your core to stabilize the body, but it's a bridging movement, and you wanna probably place your heels just a little bit closer to your butt, I would say, okay? And you're gonna be lifting up, and once you get in this elevated position, you're gonna extend one leg forward. Now you're gonna lower your body just with this left leg, and lower until your butt just touches the mat, and then raise back up. And you're just doing reps on this one leg. Again, start at a moderate level, maybe it's 10, 12 reps, work yourself up towards 20 reps. Probably don't need more than that ever. So after you do one leg, go ahead and switch, Alexey. You're gonna put your foot on the ground, you're gonna lift up here, both feet, and then extend the leg out, and then you're isolating this one leg. So again, it's nice because it's loading up just that one side of the body at a time. You should feel your glutes squeeze and engage each time you press up in the air. And one more. And it might be a good time, you can do a stretch from here. You're on the mat, just pull your knees into your chest. And that'll help just kind of release that lower back. I mean, you've been doing a lot of strength training, a lot of work here. That back might start getting a little tired. So it's a good kind of stretch to do while you're in this position. All right, let's go on. Now we're moving on to what we call the drop lunge. Again, this is gonna kind of work individual legs. So again, isolating each leg to kind of fully complement your cycling. Alexey is gonna be stepping backwards and swinging the leg to the outside of that front leg. So it's not just stepping straight back, but you gotta kind of tuck your leg behind. And what that's doing is, again, loading up the glute of that front leg just a little bit more intensely. You see him holding a medicine ball. Again, you could hold a dumbbell in your hand, a plate, but the point here is he's raising the dumbbell as he drops down into the lunge, and it's loading up his core. He's getting core work, and he's also working his shoulders. And the movement of the upper body makes it a little bit more cardiovascular. So your heart's gonna be pumping more, in combination with what we're doing on the bike. It's just giving you a more full, complete workout. And again, work yourself up. 10 reps will be good to each leg. Work up to maybe 15, 20 as a max. All right, we're on to our final movement of your weight training set here. This another plyo movement. So what we're challenging you with is we're gonna finish with this high intensity plyo work and then immediately get back on the bike for your final set. So that's just gonna make that final set that much more challenging. So split lunge, split jump is he's getting in a lunge position and he's gonna drop down and then he's gonna explode up. And when you explode up, you gotta transfer those feet. He's not holding a medicine ball here. You could if you want to work that upper body a little bit more. But you can see the explosive quality of it. And you want to get that height necessary to be able to keep transferring those feet back and forth. This is another time movement, so maybe you start with 30 seconds, work up to 45, maybe get up to a minute eventually. But you're gonna feel this one really quick, especially because this is at the end of your strength training and everything else you've done. So Alexey's made it to the third and final set here. It's, again, a 1 minute warm up, and that's not a whole lot of time with everything you've been doing strength training wise to get loosened up and get ready to start producing some power. But what we're gonna do on this set, it's a little bit longer set, much like your warm up set. So you're gonna get this good cycling time, and you're gonna be starting in initially with this 3 minute high tempo segment. And that's gonna start hurting a little bit. It's gonna start feeling like I'm already doing kind of threshold work, level 4 stuff, even though you're not, just because of what's sitting in those legs after what we've done off the bike and the things you've done previously on the bike. After that segment, Alexey will be moving on to trying to ramp it up to just like a low level 4 for 3 minutes. And then he's gonna have another 3 minute segment where he's gonna try and push it to the top of that level 4. So it's almost envisioned like you're doing a final climb in the Tour de France, where each moment up that climb, the pace accelerates, and you're just gonna try to stay with the group little by little as you get near the top. Then after he finishes this little ramping, then he's gonna be moving on to just a 5 minute tempo. And that's just gonna be trying to hang on. After you kind of peak out at that high level 4, holding on to a 5 minute tempo is gonna be really demanding, but it's gonna start building that stamina, that muscular endurance, that mental capacity you need to do well late into your rides. Have that endurance and stamina, because you're gonna be working with the legs that are much more tired than just the 45 minutes to an hour that you've put in so far. So it's gonna be a good challenge, and that's what we're trying to develop again, is consolidate your training, maximize your time, and by combining both the bike and the weight training, strength work, you're gonna be getting that. Great job finishing that workout. I hope you really enjoy it and utilize it. This is a really effective workout, but it is demanding, so make sure you do recover well, put in some extra stretching, hydrate, follow those nutritional tips for recovery we shared in the previous video. And I just want to thank Alexey here for coming out and being a part of this and sharing our work with everyone. Thanks.
It's always fun to have a crowd to watch.